Hi, my name is Evan and this is Runebound Games. Today I'll show you how to prepare and paint buildings and other terrain made out of MDF board. MDF terrain is made of a type of wood product that can cause issues with applying acrylic paints. MDF is very porous, so without proper treatment, your paint can be absorbed directly into the board and not get very good coverage. So I'll show you a way to seal the terrain so that paint can easily be applied to it. I'll also show you some quick methods of painting MDF buildings with minimal effort. MDF terrain is very widespread these days and is seen in tabletop role-playing games as well as wargames. The methods I'll show you will make sure your buildings can stand up to the wear and tear of even the roughest game night. All of the terrain pieces you'll see in this video are from TT Combat, a company that offers a huge selection of MDF terrain. I enjoy their products because they usually have multiple floors that you can disassemble and use as you see fit. Nothing beats lining up your snipers in a top-story window, or a party of adventurers staging a heist at the center of a bank. Let's get into it. First, I'll go over our materials. Obviously, you'll need a piece of MDF terrain. Next, in order to seal the wood, we'll use a product called shellac. You can find shellac on Amazon or in-person stores. Mine is from a rattle can, but you can brush it on by hand if you buy the kind in a pot. We'll also need some spray primer. For this video, I've used black, gray, and tan primers. You'll also need some kind of varnish, preferably from a rattle can as well, as this makes it much quicker. You'll need some cheap acrylic craft paints in whatever colors you're looking for. Having a black and brown on hand will help us add grime and dirt to our buildings, but if you're looking for a cleaner look, then just grab whatever colors you'd like your building to be. Finally, we'll be using masking tape to help speed up our painting process. We'll jump right into it with a series of spray paints. Our first step is using shellac to seal in the MDF board. This stuff dries pretty quickly, which is good as we'll be using at least 2 coats of it. After the shellac is fully dried, we'll use a black primer across the entire visible area. If your piece of terrain has multiple accessible floors, do your best to get full coverage on the inside as well, separating the pieces if necessary. Once the primer is dry, you can spray the building with another color of your choice. Some good picks are gray if you're looking for a more standard stone look, or a beige color if you want things to be a bit warmer. Both of these are pretty neutral colors that most paints will go over well with. Finally, once your color of choice has dried, we'll spray the whole thing with a matte varnish to help seal all of that paint down. We want our terrain to be able to handle some rough play, so this will be the first coat of varnish. Keep that rattle can around though, we'll be seeing it again later. This process will be made significantly quicker if we block off the areas we want to stay our primer color with masking tape. This will let us quickly go in with a large brush or airbrush and color those areas without taking the time to worry about getting paint on other areas. Every piece of terrain is different, and if you're an experienced painter, you can stop here. At this point, the MDF board should take paint like any other piece of terrain. Once all the areas you don't want to color in are blocked off, you're ready to go. Depending on what paint and color you're using, you'll need a varying amount of coats. If you really want to make things dingy, don't be afraid to leave some areas with only partial coverage. Once you're all set, remove the masking tape. Your terrain may have some areas of particular detail that you want to paint in a different color. Before we move on to weathering, now's a great time to take care of those places. My buildings have doors, gates, and other bits and bobs that I picked out with extra color. I also painted the sidewalks to match with my previous video about asphalt roads. Next up, you'll probably want to lay out some paper towels or the like. We're going to be weathering the buildings, and the technique is simple and cheap, but it can get a bit messy. We'll be using a simple brown craft paint and thinning it down heavily with water. Come up with a ratio that you like, just ensure that the mixture is more water than paint. You don't want to stain all of that hard work we just did. Then it's just a matter of brushing this wash all over the building. This will tint the entire terrain piece, both pooling into recesses as well as adding splotches of stronger color in random positions depending on how it dries. The brown color is the simplest way to do this, but you could also add in a little bit of green to tint the wash, and that will make things look even more run down. If you want to add realistic water damage, as though it's come down from above, the best way to accomplish this is to do exactly as I've described. Load up your brush as much as you can and press it against the top of the building. Because the mixture is so thin, it'll flow straight down like rain would. Pretty simple stuff. If you find that your paint is pooling in unwanted areas or has gotten onto something you want to remain clean, you can soak up the excess with a bit of paper towel. You can use however many layers of this weathering solution you like, or experiment with things like weathering pigment, rust effects, and more. Once the building is weathered to your liking, we'll finish it up with another coat of varnish to seal in all of the paint that we've applied. And there you have it. Durable MDF terrain that takes paint extremely well, ready to line a dingy, unkempt road. However, as nice as these buildings are now, they're still somewhat lacking in detail. In the next video, I'll show you a few ways to build some scatter terrain that will work with these modern buildings, and a few extra pieces of painted detail to really make things pop. Thanks for watching.